back. And every once in a while, I seem to show up for trybean on Tuesdays at the 10 spot. Listen, man, sometimes my schedule gets in the way. And as much as I like being on here and doing these, I can't. When I'm in a meeting with other folks, it just doesn't work. So that's okay. We do them when we can, or when we are actually paying attention to the time in the day. Because I'll be honest with you, sometimes I don't even know what day it is. I love that stuff. Anyway, so recently, and by recently, I mean April 13th, recently, I ended up giving a presentation to Michigan HR Day. And I'm going to share some of that with you right now. How do you feel about that? You love it, don't you? I love it. So you must love it. Right? Isn't that how that works? So let's have me stop jibber jabbing and let's start doing that. That'll be fun. So I'm going to open up this deck. It's right here, conveniently located. I'm going to throw it into, this is not the deck, people. My apologies. I saw the link. It was the link that I was looking for, but not really the link. Ooh, and I updated the actual website. You could just go to findingharmonybook.com and get all the information on the book because, I try and make things easy for the people. So let's see if we can actually find what I was really looking for and not this fake thing that I wasn't looking for. It's open. It's open. So where the heck are you, man? This is the downside of having too many windows open at a time. Hey, this seriously, where the heck are you? I mean, no, that's not it. This is all just website, Chrome tab. That's why. That's what's up. Let's just go into entire screen mode and I'm going to share this guy and I'm going to click this. It's going to be like parallax. I love that. But hopefully it moved over to this and we're looking at the presentation deck now. So I am sharing this. So, as I mentioned, I gave this talk to a group of HR professionals at Michigan HR Day. So, I didn't really want to go with the full title of Finding Harmony in the Fucks You Give. I didn't figure that was going to be as well received, possibly. So, I changed it. Mindset matters. How we see things are greater than the things we see. And so, I'm going to kind of breeze through this so you get an idea. But I had this as an hour talk, filled the room, literally standing room only. And there were so many great moments in this talk. I wish I had it recorded because I'd much rather be playing that for you than this for you. But whatever, didn't do it. So this is where we started, right? This is one of the sections in the book. In fact, everything in here, with the exception of me talking about the book, is a section in the book. So this is my truth, right? Happiness. We, all of us, get to choose what makes us happy. Then we get to choose whether we're going to do things that align with that happiness or don't. It's entirely up to us. I was 26 years old. It was my first job where I had my own office, and in my office, I had a whiteboard. And I remember at one point writing, choose wisely on the board. And I've used that saying for, well, let's call it more than 20 years now, 26 if we're really wanting to do the math, because it's important. In almost every situation, we get to choose. We get to choose whether we do the thing or don't do the thing. We get to choose how the thing makes us feel. We get to choose how we respond versus react. So many choices. But if we're not prioritizing our happiness, turns out we don't find it. And I've said for years, whether it's love, peace, joy, happiness, harmony, whatever, once we find those things inside of us, we get to find them everywhere we go. That's pretty awesome. This was an interesting topic. Image of self, man. I did a little bit of research on self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem. And those really dial into our image of self. This is an actual activity in the book where we ask you to plot, where are you? Is your self-worth high and your self-esteem's high, but your self-confidence is low? You get to decide where you fit. And for years, I've had really good self confidence. I've had really good self esteem, but I've had really low self worth. And that kind of sucks. I'm working on it. I'm fixing it, and it's getting better every single day. I know it's probably hard to believe if you've ever watched me present or interacted with me face to face, but true story. All right. So next on the agenda was how to get 1% better every single day. Listen, the only competition you need to be in is who you were yesterday, last week, last month. Figure out how to work toward continuous improvement. I also talk about the idea of perfection in this and what a total myth that is. And it's not that perfection doesn't exist, it's just that perfection is subjective. And so my perfection will be different than your perfection, different than her perfection, different than his perfection, different than their perfection. So, whose perfection do we even aim for? And if you're in a client facing role, it probably makes more sense to go towards their perfection than your perfection. Am I right? Yeah. Whatever you need to do, figure out how to get on this wheel of momentum, because once you get Big Mo on your side, it's hard to lose it. Oh, now I can't just advance the screen. Gotcha. This is really what the book was initially called, right? And it wasn't even a book. I think I've mentioned this a dozen times. When I wrote the book, it wasn't a book. It was a series of essays written to my daughter to help her improve her mindset. And so I talk about why having the right mindset is important. And you can go all the way back to W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill, positive mental attitude, people, in like 1930s. We've been talking about having the right mental attitude or mindset for decades. And again, much like happiness, we get to choose it. And I'll tell you, a couple of the benefits of being a positive individual is you attract positive individuals. Your vibration resonates at a frequency that's so high that negative people can't stand being around you. Yes. How would you like to just block them off, man, without even trying? All you had to do was show up, and they're like, can't deal with you and your positive energy. I'm not a coffee drinker, and that surprises some people. But I'll tell you what, you don't want to see me hyped up on coffee, right? I'm too next level. You can't handle it. It's not even the truth, but you still can't handle it. All right. So it's kind of fun, man. Make sure that your mindset is in check. I told you about writing the words choose wisely on a whiteboard when I was 26. This is advice I got from that manager at that time. I was in the recruiting business, and recruiting's a lot of fun because if you do your job well, there's big money on the line, 30% of someone's salary. And so I got all super excited about an interview that I heard went well from the client, and I heard went well from the candidate. And I'm out there counting my money, and I'm ready to I'm ready to spend all this stuff. And as I was bouncing around the office, I got the call that the candidate accepted another job. And that like just wrecked me, man, ruined for life, or at least 9 minutes, whatever the case may be. And in that moment, he said, keep your highs low and your lows high. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And years later, as I was learning about Buddhism and reading more about the middle path, it dawned on me that it's the exact same advice. Sure, you miss out on the exhilarating highs and all the amazing things that could be. You also miss out on the debilitating lows that knock you out and make you want to crawl under your covers for hours at a time. I had originally titled this section 54 Shades of Gray, but I didn't want it to be confused with a book by a similar name. You may have heard of a book about 50 Shades of Gray. This to me is all about how we think. So often we look at choices and say, well, it's either this or that. we forget that there's 52 different shades of gray in between this. In fact, I would argue that there's really no black and there's really no white. There's really, really, really dark gray and really, really, really light gray and 52 shades in between. And if we can make our decisions similar to that, we open ourselves up to other opportunities that we wouldn't have any other way. This is a line from my good friend Philip Klein. Phil says, "It's always my pleasure." To me, I look at things, do I want to do this? If it's a hell yeah, I'm in. If it's not a hell yeah, it probably is a no, but at least maybe I'll give it some thought. And if something's going to always be your pleasure, then I would say it's probably a hell yeah for you too, right? It's part of that decision making tree. Find things that are going to be easy for you to say hell yeah to. And if they're not, then don't. Now, I understand that there are times at work that we have to do things we don't necessarily want to do. But I'm also pretty sure that getting a paycheck is a hell yeah for you. So you have to align to that a little bit. This is another activity straight from the book, The Power of Self-Talk. I want us to think about the things we say. Are you doing mantras? Are you doing incantations? Are you going through a list of things that you say positively that are affirmations? Or are you talking smack to yourself, right? So think about what you're feeding your mind, because the voice you hear most frequently every single day is yours. So how are you talking to you? What do you say about yourself? Are you one of those, oh, I'm such an idiot, or boy, am I stupid? Or are you saying, man, I'm getting better at this stuff all the time, right? We have to reframe that internal dialogue. I gave this presentation and I put this slide up and I just paused and I said, how many of you are triggered by this slide right now? And two people raised their hand, and I was like, aha, I knew it. Listen, man, we're too triggered. We're too easy to fly off the handle. We let people into our mush too often, and we shouldn't. So these are two really, really important points. People can't push your buttons if you don't let them. Don't give them access. And people can't push your buttons if they don't know what they are. Spend your time talking about good things, positive things, things that are going to be upbeat or at least real. Don't be talking about what bums you out or brings you down or makes you sad, because people end up using that stuff. There are a percentage of people, small as it may be, that would love to watch the world burn and you in it. So don't feed them fodder for that. Again, more about how we think, how we behave, how we show up, how we act, how we make decisions, right? What we end up doing, the routes we take. My advice to you is be flexible, and specifically be incredibly rigid on the goal, right? On the outcome you desire. Be incredibly flexible on the different ways to get there. And I love this line: body not stiff, mind stiff. And I will say this lady's clearly body is not stiff. My goodness. Yeah, just crazy picture. Anyway, a little piece from the book. This is whatever your beliefs are, make sure they're serving your highest and best you. We have this set of beliefs. We were given them by our parents. They were incredibly formulated, tweaked, or changed possibly by teachers, by coaches, by friends, by peer groups, by folks that we spend time with, by television and radio, and what we read and what we allow to sink into our brain, by the clergy. Make sure they're serving you, man. Check your beliefs. It's okay to change your belief based on new information, especially when you realize that that belief you had didn't serve your highest and best you. This is an interesting piece. Sometimes we need help. How do we get it? Who do we ask? How do we make it okay to ask? What do we ask for when we actually need it? So, this piece, this whole essay is about just doing that. As you can imagine, this went over really well with a group of HR professionals. Oh man, time. Good Lord. I joke, and we've all joked lately over the last 3 years, they've seemed to have taken like 12 years, right? Since COVID started in March 2020, here we are in April 2023. Wow, what a time warp we've been through. And so I stopped measuring days. You heard me say that. I don't even know what day it is a while ago. I don't measure weeks or months or years or any of it. I don't even necessarily believe in the construct of time. I'm pretty sure we just all agreed to this idea that this is what time is. I focus on moments. And the more I can win the moment I'm in, the better off my day, my week, my month, my year is. So think about your life from that perspective. Focus on the moments. I call it momentary mastery. I'll do a video on that at some point. That'll be a good trybean Tuesday, momentary mastery. Maybe someone will drop that in the comments so I'll remember to actually do it. Oh boy, stress. Woo! We get some of that, don't we? We get anxiety. We get all kinds of rough stuff that makes us feel less than. Here's the thing, you can flip stress, you can use stress as fuel. Deadlines can be an incredible motivator to get things done. I was the student that, okay, it's September and you have a paper due in the end of November, and September would finish and October would finish and most of November would go by. And then I'd start thinking about that paper. That's just who I was. I needed that deadline to put that fire under my ass to get things done. And it's a lot better than having stress smashing you down into the ground. Charlie and I always talk about the fire inside, right? Having that fire in your belly, man. And it's so much easier to do things when you are aligned with what you do for work and what you do for passion. I look at these two circles and think of them as a Venn diagram. How closely aligned are they? And I said at that presentation that when I'm standing in front of a crowd, those two circles are on top of each other. I get paid to do what I absolutely am on fire for. Love that stuff. And I'd invite you, if you're looking for an interesting talk to bring into your company, to your group, to your association, to your chamber, reach out to me. I will light your audience up. I promise. Bean at trybean.com. Bean at trybean.com. I'm Bean. My company is Trybean. Pretty simple. Nice. Didn't get into this as much because we were running a little light on time, but I've been playing around with this idea of the four elements and how we can relate them to our behaviors, the actions we take, and the personality types. And then I found out from my friend Steve Lois that there's this dude named Jay Johnson who created this whole company and this whole assessment and all these different thoughts, trainings, and coaching modules around this exact concept. And I met Jay last week, and he's awesome. And I loved his whole thing. So we talk a little bit about Earth, right? For me, Earth means the people that are steadfast, rock steady, the folks that are going to get stuff done. They're dependable, they're reliable, they show up, show out, and do their thing. Air, which is the opposite of Earth. These are the visionary folks. These are the dreamy folks. These are the folks who are up in space. Jay would tell you that air people are the ones that are genuinely curious and love to learn. I also showed up highest in air, which is funny because I always think of myself as fire and water, but I knew those three were all very, very high. Fire is an element, man. These are the ones that set the world ablaze. These are the ones that get things started. These are the ones that move things forward consistently. They're also the ones that'll burn you if you get too close because they run hot. And water, man, cool, transformative, moves, flexible, just keeps on flowing. Love all of this. So some of these are behaviors that we have, some of these are actions that we need to take. So understanding this becomes really, really important. Four elements. Just love that idea. And thanks to Alex Borzo for the really cool graphics for each of them. So when I was doing the presentation, I said, well, I got to tell people that it actually came from a book. So this was my slide to let folks know that the book is out, and I actually had copies, and it was so cool, folks. It was so cool to do this presentation, tell them the book's available, invite people to purchase a copy, and then have a line of people waiting to get the signed copy of the book. What a great, great feeling. There's also a workbook. That workbook's available on my website. Again, if you went to findingharmonybook.com, you could purchase this book. You could download this workbook if you wanted without even purchasing the book. It's our gift to you. So it's there, findingharmonybook.com. Fun. And then here's the big close, right? We have to do things that our future self will thank us for, right? I told a story about how I was cleaning up my yard because it's April, right? Spring cleanup. And I said I was so pissed at younger Terry because younger Terry decided to hide a bunch of leaves behind the woodpile, man. And now future Terry, or today Terry, has to figure out how to clean that mess up. So I did not do something my future self would thank me for. But you want to get in the habit of thinking about, what do you want to be tomorrow? What do you want to be a year from now? What do you want to be 10, 30, 50 years from now? Do things your future self will thank you for. This is one of the last sections of the book, You'll Slip. And it's an important reminder for all of us that eventually we won't keep making the progress. Right? We'll get back into our old habits. We'll get back into the ways we've always done things. And then we have to realize it, and we have to agree to start again tomorrow. The other thing I talked about, because a group of HR people, that making failure a part of your culture is good. If you're not failing, you're not getting out of your comfort zone. If you're not getting out of your comfort zone, you're not experiencing growth. Right? So it's okay to fail. It's okay to slip. It's actually probably a really good thing. And then I'm pretty sure this is basically my closing slide, talking about how grateful I am to have been there, but also how grateful I am to be able to share this information, and just the importance of gratitude as an attitude overall. Because the number one thing I know for sure is the more gratitude we show, the more we have to be grateful for. That's just how the universe works, people. And I'm a big fan of that. This is how you contact or connect with me if you're so inclined. Again, bean at trybean.com is the single best way. But you can find me on the Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and YouTube and all that other mess too. But, sometimes it's too much. Go to trybean.com though, and I will have this video up there under my blog. And if you'd be so kind as to share this with people need to see it, whether they're event organizers, whether they're sales managers, whether they're HR professionals, or maybe it's your friend that just needs a kick in the butt, I would love it if you would send them the link to this video, and it'll be right there at trybean.com. I'll figure out how to even pin this so you can see it again and again and again. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you spending some time on a Tuesday morning. I know that this was a little bit longer than usual. Oh, God, it was a lot longer than usual, but that's okay. Sometimes you go a little longer, right? It's 24 minutes. I try and keep these to 15. Again, that's an hour-long talk done in 24 minutes. Smooth. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see you really soon. Maybe next week, Tuesday at 10. If I can figure out how to do it mobily, I might be on location. So we'll see if I do that. Otherwise, I'll see you in a couple weeks. Y'all be cool.